All right, so I've done these a couple times on some other channels, the Audiophiles Anonymous piece, and what it's kind of about is just kind of getting to know the people behind the names and behind the screen a little bit there for the YouTubers, which we also have Chrono on with us too. He's that lovely little icon down there because Chrono. Yeah, we're working on that. So audio is choppy. Yeah, we're having issues with it. There's a lot of storms here. Uh-oh, test, test. 1, 2, 3. No sound. All right, let's try it again. Restarting. Oh yes, this happens. Let me restart and see what happens. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm choosing. No, I'm using the ADI. So I'll just restart it because this happens with OBS every once in a while. We have to just completely wipe it and start over. 1 sec. So it's gonna go away for a second. Streaming and then see if that works. Oh wow, you just went crazy.
I don't know what that happened.
Do you have Yeah, that's weird. How about now? It's working. There we go. Yeah, OBS has this weird thing where sometimes it will not play nice with
I'm back.
There we go. Yeah, OBS, I don't know what it is lately with OBS, and maybe it's just because I have a new PC, so I'm still fully working out
all the OBS settings.
Yeah. But anyway, so here we are. So let's start this over again. Let you go.
Just so you guys know, I'm not the one who's live streaming at this time.
Yeah, that's me.
Tyler's in charge.
I'm in charge.
Yeah.
No. So basically, with this, we're trying to do. I don't know if you guys heard. Maybe Resolved. You want to try it again?
Yeah, I'll start us off again here. I'll do this one again. But yeah, it's good that we're doing this anyways because this is more of a laid back, relaxed stream, hang out with some of the viewers. But this is the first episode of Audiophiles Anonymous on the Headphone Show. This is something Tyler has done in the past as well. But this is going to be more of a community-oriented, content creator-focused type of stream where we just talk about, sort of various different things that people are doing. Whether it's YouTubers or other community members or, reviewers, people who are writing articles, stuff like that. And, there's a lot of people in the Headphone community forum that we want to highlight as well. So, I'll turn it over to Tyler and we'll take it away.
So basically what the goal is for this one is we're going to basically talk to Resolve and Chrono, who is there. I don't know if you caught that.
This thing is me.
That little icon.
Little circle one.
He's down there. He's saying hi. You missed it too. We're working on getting him a camera gear so we can start doing these live streams. We're looking at doing some other content on the channel as well. And hopefully you guys, the volume matching is okay. I'm trying to monitor it. But anyways, I want to dive right into it, and I kind of want to start with Andrew Park, going with the wonderful questions about Audiophile Anonymous type things. Which, if you haven't seen other stuff regarding that, it's mostly just getting to know who the YouTubers are, who the people, like you're saying, in behind the community. And so for me, it's this is Resolve, and what is it that he likes to do? And so right now, you're a unique case because you have access to tons of different audio gear, and so But with that being said, I'd be curious to know what right now, like right in this very past few days, has been your primary, like, outside of work, because let's be real, this is work, and like you're doing stuff, you're measuring, you're like, what do you do to actually sit back? What audio chain do you use when you're just wanting to just enjoy the music?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, is that last sentence. I mean, no.
You enjoy
music? Yeah, is that what this is for?
F you say.
But yeah, no, apart from just listening to sign sweeps and things like that, no. Right now, I think a lot of it is, for me lately, it's if I find something interesting about a given headphone or a chain or something like that, interesting in the sense of like something to note in a review or test or highlight in, a forum post or something like that, then I dive into figuring out how can I best enjoy this thing? So, for example, recently, I don't know, I posted this in a few places, but I recently measured the AudioQuest Night Owl, which, which the other Andrew has appropriately described as the cilantro of headphones, and I think that's a wonderful description. Totally appropriate. But I measured it, and one of the things I love about the Night Owl is that it's the most comfortable headphone, and it's closed back, right? So very, very comfortable. Closed back headphone. Unfortunately, its frequency response isn't that great. So or at least that, not for my taste, at least. It's pretty dark. So I've been trying to figure out, okay, how can I, like, based on the measurements that I've taken here, how can I improve the sound to be a little bit more closer to my preference? And then that usually involves kind of messing around with EQ and trying to, I mean, it's not always trying to match the Harman target, because I find that for some headphones it's just not a good fit. So I'll try and match it best to what sounds good to me, and then I'll measure it again and then see, okay, how close does this actually get to one of the given targets there. But so I've been messing around with that one lately. The other one is, of course, the Elegia, which I just measured, and I've been posting it a couple places as well. And this is a headphone that the default measurement looks it looks a little bit weird in the mids, but there is proper pinna gain there at the right spot and everything. But it's just like what Oratory was saying when we had that live stream with him a while ago. The bass is impossible to measure on this, because you just like have it slightly different in the positioning, and it's completely different. So I think this is one where, like, you need to actually be able to simulate the way that it fits on your own personal head, which I don't know if that's even possible to do, like, with glasses, without glasses, etc.
It's funny you mentioned that, because you also mentioned EQ, but I wanted to kind of talk on the bass, the low end of the Elegias, because I was using them randomly one day, and I right before bed, I usually use my Campfire Out of Cascades, my wonderful guilty pleasure headphone. Usually it's like iPad listening. I'm watching movies, that kind of stuff. But then I was listening to music, and I had my Elegias on, and so wow, that went crazy focus, but I don't know, maybe the way I was laying down on the pillow, whatever it was, all of a sudden, like, it just started slamming, man. Like, I was like, what the heck's happening right now? And
it has the low end. That's the thing. Like, it's there, but then some positions or with glasses, it's not, right? I don't know. And so anyways, with the Elegia, I've been trying to get I've been refining an EQ profile, or I guess starting point, that's based more on the Gross system, or the measurements from the Gross system. Resolve's got a thin frame. I hope you're referring to my glasses. But yeah, so I've been trying to like get my EQ profile there based on the Gross measurements. So it's a little bit more fine grained and less conservative, and seeing if I can make that sound really good. And it does. And that's one of the things I was just mentioning earlier to some of these guys. Is the stream still working?
It looks like it.
Everything is good. Okay. And I was mentioning to these guys that, like, one of the things I really like about the Elegia's default frequency response is the treble, and I actually prefer it over the treble of the Focal Clear. So that's the really nice thing, is that if you have something with really great treble, you don't have to mess with super granular, fine-grained EQ, because it's already good in the treble, and all you need to do is adjust other areas, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been playing with lately for the headphone side of things.
So with that, then, what's your? I mean, outside of the headphone space, do you have like and actually, you just got the wonderful, lovely little topping amp.
Amp. Yeah.
The learn to talk factor. But outside of that stuff, like what's I think for you, isn't it the KN is kind of like your main one? But like, what's your preferred like DAC amp combos also? Like what?
Oh, they're saying the stream is wonky. Like, how are we doing on dropped frames?
Oh, the drop frames are 0, but it looks like the audio's fine, but the camera, I think the camera keeps you keep freezing in the camera bit there.
Oh, okay.
Which is an odd one. Yeah.
All right. I don't know why. If anybody's having issues with the video, just maybe try refresh the stream. Should be good.
Oh yeah, Elnrick had that happen yesterday, and he said once he did, it worked out fine.
So yeah, the topping. Yeah, I've been liking it. But not like that's the thing with all these sort of like lower end, like entry level kind of sources. Like this is the L30 that we're talking about, topping L30, and I'm actually using it right now. That and like the shit audio heresy, and a lot of these other ones that are fairly inexpensive. That I don't expect it to sound any different, really. Like for amps, I don't. Like DAX, yes, because there we go. Yeah, for DAX, yes, I would expect there to be a difference because it would depend on the type of chip that's being used and all that kind of stuff. ESS bases, yeah, exactly. ESS bases versus AKM versus Burr Brown, like they all do have something unique there. But for the amps, I would not expect them unless there's something like really weird going on with something. If as long as it's again, this is where like the measurement stuff comes into play. But I think for the lower end stuff, that's where the measurements do matter a little bit. And at least as long as it's at a good enough point, right? Then I think that's really all we need to look for. And then beyond that, there's no real audible difference, I don't think. That's been my experience so far. But I want to say there's two cool things about the L30 that I really like. The first is that it doesn't really get super hot. Like it does get warm, but it's not like the Cayenne like full big desktop amp that I have here. Yeah, and because it's summertime, I really like that I don't have to worry about heat as much with the L30. And then also it has a ton of power, like ridiculous amount of power. More like I'd say about as much power as like the Micro Black Label.
Oh, that's impressive.
So more power than the Heresy, quite a bit more. So, and I like that might just be like you got 3 different settings there for gain. So low, like -6, 0, and then +6, something like that. But in general, like I'm impressed by the overall package that it is. And it could be that amp that's like, yeah, you don't really need to go much beyond this for most modest headphones that require an amplifier. It's pretty powerful.
That's pretty interesting. I think I just had the I didn't have the amp version. I had the D90 DAC from Topping recently, and I really liked that one. That was pretty interesting DAC. That DAC had it reminded me of the ADI. Like I actually did a shootout between it, the ADI RME ADI 2 DAC, and the Bifrost 2, and I thought that was a pretty fun little shootout. And I was using Roon to do that, so I could have all of them playing the same track at the same time, and just quickly just switch between them while the track's still going, which is fantastic for doing that. That made it so much easier to switch between DACs, to hear the differences, and it was very minimal, like anything with the DAC. I think you could say you have a unique signature that they all generally have, but I think I think both the RME and the D90 both have the AKM DAX chipsets, but I think the D90 is newer.
Should we? I keep getting everybody seems to say the stream is having some troubles. I wonder if we should just switch it.
Maybe we can try that.
Should we? Okay, let me just why don't I load up OBS here? 1 second.
Well, Chrono, how's it going? What you doing, buddy? How are you?
Howdy. Trying to reach your chat. I'm checking the stream. I haven't had issues with it, actually.
Yeah, I'm not having. I think it's. I know that Andrew Parks keeps freezing up. The video does. So.
Yeah, but on the audio side,
the audio seems fine.
Or heard anything, go wonky.
Yeah, I haven't heard the audio go wonky, but it looks like the video was going a little bit off.
Yeah. All right. I can hear you guys, but let me just try and there we go, full screen. And all right, tell them to maybe refresh.
All right, I think buttery goodness. Can you guys hear us? You sound good. We have it up now.
How's everything sounding, guys?
Should be.
Is everything okay?
I checked it on my end. It sounds pretty good.
All right. All the video is good? There's
And
no
then
weird
now
delays.
it's you're covering Chrono with your video, and then you're
Oh yeah.
talking head.
It just switched it randomly. All right, there we go.
That's awesome.
All right, we're back. All right, so
Yeah.
sorry. Where were we? We were talking about the topping sources. Yeah.
Sources, yeah. So DAX, amps, that kind of stuff, and how that works out. And that's actually another thing I would like to eventually get talking about is the like how synergy works, that kind of stuff, you know. But I think that's a topic for another day.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. You know, with the Cayenne versus the Fondator X, which I mean, actually, we might as well talk about that because this is something that like I've noticed is, you know, people talk about like, oh, that, you know, past a certain point, the sources don't make that much of a difference, or they shouldn't make that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. But
that's not true.
But. Yeah, it's not true for starters. but there is, I think, I mean, that the question of synergy and system setup and pairing, I think that is like a really important one to consider, because the thing that I've noticed when people are, especially when people are conducting a lot of these measurements and they're trying to use as a baseline, you know, good measuring equipment, it might be good measuring and good sounding in most cases, but then there are probably some edge cases where that's just not as good of a pairing. And I'm noticing that like in now with a few different setups, like for example, planar magnetic headphones seem to do better with high current amps, high current sources. And whereas, you know, with dynamic driver headphones, it doesn't seem to make as much of a difference. And then there's this really like we were talking about this earlier, but like what I've noticed, because the Fondator X has some sort of weird load sensing thing going on, and I think the idea there is to make sure that you get kind of a very consistent power output, you know, across the board, regardless of which headphones you plug in. And so it's intentional, but I think this also has an effect for planar magnetic headphones, where they are fairly low sensitivity, but they're also inefficient. So they do need a little more power to drive. And so that's why, like, at least in my head, that's why I think it sounds better on the Cayenne IHA6 when I use planar magnetic headphones. But it could be, there could be all kinds of other reasons that's like unclear. So it could have to do with the transformer that's being used, or that kind of stuff.
Or like the topology. It'd be interesting to talk to like the guys that created the Fondator and like the engineers to see what that, you know. I think that's we just did a show yesterday with the guy that created the Nectar.
Oh yeah.
And that was really fun talking to them and like that process. I mean, he's super indie headphone maker. But anyways, like I think that that's another piece too. Like the synergy aspect to me also comes into play when you're talking about people that are even doing reviews, even if it's just for fun, and they're posting it in you know, Reddit to the forums to wherever, right? Like I think that is a big factor that kicks in when people are like, "Well, I didn't hear it that way." Well, yeah, because it's not the same.
You don't have the same
same channel, the same system setup, not the same chain.
Yeah.
And synergies are different. Like there's all sorts of factors that come into play with that. So I think that's where it's important for reviewers a lot of times to state that, like, hey, this is my chain and this is what I was using. But anyways, that's another piece, a different topic for another day. But like I agree though. I think that the synergy factor can really kick in a lot. Like, so for instance, I would say Chrono, we should talk to you about this, but you broke them. The
Can we not?
HD 800 is fantastic on my bottlehead crack, for instance. Like I love it on that. Like I go to sell my HD 800 every once in a while, and I'll take it out of the case and I'll put it on and I'll plug it into the Fondator. And I'm like, okay, it's good. I'm like, okay, I'll put it into the bottlehead crack, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, this isn't going anywhere. It's staying. Like, so there's like, you know what I mean? Like there's those things where all of a sudden it just things like a magic happens where it's like, oh, this is where it's these two come together, like, you know, chocolate and peanut butter, or peanut butter and honey. And
after Chrono, I have a thought on that, but I'll let Chrono answer first.
So yeah, like so Chrono, what do you think about that, the synergy piece of, because you've had some quite the experience recently, like with different headphones and what have you, so come at me.
I don't feel like I've had enough experience with the different sources to come up with good pairings and stuff. But the only thing I can really speak of is that I'm starting to pay more attention a little more to the different sound of the DACs and amps that I've listened to recently. I've had some fun with the JDS Lab Element 2, which is a combo amp
Love
DAC
that amp. Love those
that has
guys.
their LAmp 2 and LDAC 2 inside, which is AKM 4493 bass, I believe. And then I have also the Microback label, and I was comparing that to the Jotunheim with the Bifrost 2. And the only thing I can say is that I really like how the Element sounds compared to the other two. The Element to me sounds cleaner than both the other ones.
What about
I would
the
say that's
Bifrost?
accurate. Like, I think the Bifrost has a little bit more color to it. It has a little more.
I feel like they were fairly similar, but I particularly like in the treble range, I found the Element 2 to be a little cleaner. I don't know why. There was just something there on the Bifrost and the treble that just made it a little. There was like this this very
is the both
subtle stop and harshness.
Real quick, I just want to clarify. You're actually using the Bifrost 2 plugged into your Element, and then bypassing the internal DAC, and then swapping back to the internal DAC and amp, right? So you're using the Element amp, L-amp portion for both DACs.
No,
right?
I can't do that on this one because I think it only has a pre-out.
So that was
so
could be the
there's a
Jotunheim.
factor. That's also the factor.
It could have been the amp. It could have been the amp.
The L amp is a much cleaner sounding neutral amp than the Jotunheim. The Jotunheim actually does have a little bit more flavor, fullness. Low, I don't want to say like low end because that's not quite accurate, but like, you know, it has a little more je ne sais quoi.
Yeah,
we just start speaking
it
French.
wasn't a super in-depth comparison.
I shall confuse you with the language.
And, you know, I'm not definitely don't have nowhere near the experience as far as sources go. So, but I just know that between those two different amp and DAC pairings, I would go for the Element myself.
Yeah,
it just has a velvety sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
Clean,
that's the AKM.
Velvety sort of sound. Yeah,
but
that's what
I think you'd be shocked. I think you can actually run your Bifrost 2 into your L amp and bypass the DAC in it. There's a way to do it because I did it before. I was doing it with my my Element, and I actually bypassed the DAC inside of it before I got rid of it with the newer L. Well, I got the L DAC as well on top of the Element because people were like, you need to have the L DAC to make it sound. But anyways, so I actually had that as a stack, even though I had both. So there's a way to do it. You just have things. It's been a long time since I've had my Element, so
like a switch or something.
Yeah, it's on the back.
Yeah.
There's
I see that there's actually now I'm looking at it right now. There's like an in.
Yeah, there's
for
an in.
RCAs.
Yep, and that's for the RCA in exactly, and then you just switch to that. There's a little button you can switch the sources.
Yeah, VizFlux says Jotunheim is a bit hazy in comparison to the filtered EL2, so maybe that's what you're experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Jotunheim has the word would be, I guess, to sound like an audiophile romantic.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me neither. But
Neither do I, but it sounds appropriate.
I think I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean.
But yeah, like I think that's a factor too. Like the different amps and DACs and that kind of stuff. So when you're doing a DAC comparison, it's always best to I think the L amp for you, Chrono, is really, really clean, solid amp as far as like just getting out of the way. And it'd be a great one for you to compare DACs with. So now that you know that you can just swap the DACs, I think you should. Actually, I'd pull your Bifrost. Did you take your Bifrost 2 out of your room? Because
it was my problem with it was the heat, that stack. The heat was pretty.
Well, the Jotunheim will get
noticeable.
warm. The Bifrost 2 does get warm. I'm touching it now, but it's I actually have to turn off my Jotunheim R from my SR1As when I'm not, because that thing gets blazing hot. And I remember coming in my room and I'm like, whoa.
At least it's not tube amps, man. Like that. Those get.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I've never actually tried tubes on headphones. I know. Sorry. But that's something that's yet to happen. Hopefully.
Boo this man.
That's something I'm really looking forward to trying out.
You guys saw earlier when I was messing with the camera before we went live, but I have my KN tube amp, my little Eddie Current ZDT Junior tube amp, and then on top of my PC I have my Bottlehead Crack amp, and I was effing around because I hadn't had all of them plugged in a long time, and so I have them all set up now running, or not currently, but I had them all running at the same time, and
So
I was
swap.
easily swapping between them. and I was like, God, like I was like sweating. I was like, why is it so hot? Like what the hell? Like it was like easily at least 20 degrees warmer in this room, which
God.
is this room's already the hottest, but in the house. But actually on to Chrono real quick. What is your current? Speaking of, so everyone knows Chrono is part of the review team. You've seen his videos on the channel, and he's been doing a kick-arse job with that. And so right now, what is it that you are utilizing for? I know you have, like you said, the Element 2, which I'm a big fan of. JDS Labs. I think they're fantastic. That's actually one of my first big entries into the hi-fi headphone space, was a JDS Labs Element version 1. But anyways, what is it you have in your chain right now? Tell us what is your jam.
I tend to gravitate towards the clear. Unfortunately, it just doesn't fit on my head that well. But I don't know. I just really enjoy that between, the sort of, there's like a subtle like warmth, but at the same time there's like cleanliness from the Element 2, and then you have the really transparent sound in terms of like detail of the clear, and they also have the dynamics that makes it very engaging to listen to. And
what do you think about that difference between the clear with that amp and then the micro black label?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good question. The Burr Brown and everything.
Yeah.
The clear. Okay, wait, hold up. The clear sounds a little wider and cleaner on the Element 2, and the bass sounded to me also, but particularly the bass sounded cleaner to me on the Element 2 compared to the micro black label. So I don't know. It just didn't sound as it. The black label just didn't sound to me quite as clean as the Element 2.
Yeah,
that's so that's why I've been just using that. And it's the thing about the Element, it's so like compact. It's a combo, and there's only 2 cables running around instead of 60.
To me, that's like the difference. It's like the micro black label's strengths, in my opinion, are in its versatility. And you compare that to a standalone setup. I still think that not all of them, but many of the standalone setups are probably still better, even if it's a combo or something like that. Mm-hmm. And not just better in like the theoretical sense. Like I think these are fairly tangible differences, like from just the DAC alone as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's almost like an unfair comparison, just because it's like the micro black label is doing like 80 things, whereas the others are doing like one.
It's right. I mean, it's super powerful, and it's only. I mean, when I plug it into my computer, it's only USB, and it's powering and charging at the same time.
It's kind of mind blowing.
It has the battery in there, so
and you can just plug so many different things into it so easily compared to other setups. So I do agree. The versatility and what it's capable of, all the features that it has are pretty impressive.
Well, the reason why I was asking you though is because the micro black label and the Burr Browns, with something like the clear that has a little bit more of that sort of like treble, let's say, intensity. And we've talked about this, but basically the clear doesn't dip enough at 10k hertz. That's and in my opinion, I have to give a big shout out to Chrono for finding this. I think that's responsible for why people say that some of the Focal clear has some of this sort of like artificial sounding timbre. I actually think it's just 10k hertz, and it's not that there's like a peak there on the graph or anything. It's just that it should dip a little more strongly. And Chrono found this, and ever since then I've been like, oh yeah, this it fixes the timbre.
So because what for me was a couple different things, and one of the main ones is just like there was just too much energy with the overtones and harmonics in that area, and when you compare it, the ratio between harmonics and fundamentals for me, which is a little bit off. And more recently, because I listen to it every day because I really like it, I found that I feel like there's just maybe a dB or two too much air, like above 12k. So like there's also that, and then there's also that sort of well, I listened to this after the review, so it's
changed a little bit,
a little bit, just a little bit. It's like a slight honk there around like 3k. So I was like, I think that that adds that sort of metallic. But once you EQ those things out, you're like, wow, metallic timbre.
Exactly. And that leads into the video that I just did. But no,
to say that.
But that's what I was asking about. Maybe with the Burr Browns or something that's a little more, smooth, relaxed kind of sounding in the treble, that may make that not as noticeable. The sort of shimmer and sizzle, but I guess it doesn't really change it enough where it curbs that.
Yeah,
I think it's a subtle change. Yeah, a subtle change.
I will say when I heard, so up until recently, I had the Matrix Audio X Saber, which was like one of the best DACs that I've ever heard. It was like all the good things about ESS based DACs without any of the downsides. And to me, when I listened to the clear through the Phonitor X using the X Saber as the DAC, it was like, this is like the perfect synergy for this headphone. Like, again, maybe there's something better, and there's the Arch as well, but that combo with the X Saber as the DAC, a lot of those issues that I think might be there in the treble, not just in like the upper treble, but like say like the 8K hertz or 6K hertz ranges, I didn't seem to mind them. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, when you do have a chain that's like that, okay, here comes a BS audiophile term, but that resolving, I think it does make a difference for the impressions.
There's a well-known measure baiter crying right now. You said.
I thought you were referring to me. No, because I know what you're saying. The term resolution is not all that well defined.
There's a person that rhymes with what would it rhyme with? How this? It's something you put in a martini.
Ah. Right. Sean Olive. Okay, so let's. I got to have him on the live stream at some point because I love what he's doing. But we do get into those. I don't know about arguments, but like discussions on Twitter a lot. So that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, the Twitter threads last days, man.
Yeah, but
I posted one thing, kept getting notifications for like 12 notifications an hour for like 6 hours straight.
I mean, that's the thing, is he's a scientist, right? He's going with what the information, the data shows. So
you're only as good as the information you have available to you.
Yeah. Anyways, what were we were just talking about something.
We were talking. Chrono was talking why he liked the clears the most, even though they don't fit his very lovely head.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They just don't. They just don't get along well with me. I don't know if it's the headband or like they don't extend all the way, or like, and that thing that they do where they're like spring back. It like starts trying, like it progressively like drags upwards as I wear them for longer periods. And I was like, oh man. Yeah. So sometimes I actually have to hold the cups in place just so I can listen to them well. But they just don't play well with me. But I know that most people love the comfort on the.
Yeah, they're like one of my favorites for comfort.
Yeah, but for me it just didn't work, which is a shame because I really like the way they sound.
Well, with that, like, when you, Chrono, what do you do for relaxing? I know you found this really cool indie band you were talking about recently. The
Beatles. I love them.
Yeah.
The Beatles, we just found them out cool. Recently. They have this Abbey Road album. Yeah.
Album sounds pretty good. I was pretty impressed with some of their work. It was pretty cool for an
I like the Rhubarb Soul one a little bit better.
The Rhubarb Soul.
Rhubarb Soul.
The Rhubarb Soul. Sorry, I mispronounced it. Yeah, I love that. I love that one. Very good. Rhubarb Soul.
It's my favorite.
Not to be confused with Reverb Soul.
Reverb Soul.
Reverb Soul, yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, or if it wasn't obvious in his videos, Chrono is a big Beatles fan.
Can we call him a Beatles head?
A Beatles head.
Or a Beatle head.
I'm gonna do the haircut. I'm gonna grow my hair out and do the little bob thing.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Figure out you ever see those 3D printed like giant like baby heads, but they're like they look super real or hyper real, but they're like giant and people wear them as adults. We should get you like a Beatles head like mask. Sorry, random tangent.
I was gonna say then your headphones definitely won't fit, but
yeah, right.
But yeah.
Well, I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about like how did we get to where we are today as the three of us, even, right? Like, so I know for me, I was brought over from Reddit when I first came into the audiophile world. I actually came over I came into the headphone world. I've been doing audio for a long time, just not mostly speakers, mostly live music or that kind of stuff. But then I had a kid, needed to have closed backs, but I wanted it for gaming. My main reason coming to headphone space was gaming related. And then went to Reddit, was kind of like, whoa.
That's the common experience when you browse the Headphone Reddit.
And then what was his and then I became relatively like, associated friends on Reddit with I Want All the Tacos, I believe was his name.
Oh yeah, Tacos is great.
Yeah, freaking fantastic guy. And so he invited me to. He was like, "Hey, there's this great new forum that just popped up," and I was really not that active on Reddit, just because it was just it wasn't the easiest to kind of like dive in, and like you don't want to be that person like, "Hey guys," and like everyone's like, "Who the fuck,"
Yeah.
But and then with the forum, I came over from him with the invite from him, and then that was that's been 2-3 years now. It's been crazy. Anyways, and so that's how I came to the forum, and then just sort of dived in, and then the reason I even started doing the stuff I did on the forum was because I had this thing that I do where if I don't feel like I'm good at something, I will kind of just dive into it and force myself to do it. So I knew I needed to, because my background is the military, so I wrote very militaristically in my writing, very bullet pointy, and so I wanted to get better at writing. So I started writing reviews, and I asked Torque at the time, the editor for the forum, to help me develop that skill, and he was very generous in helping me, and we chatted and became friends, and so that's how I started doing reviews. And then I went and met Taryn and Andrew a couple times, both at Torque's house and up at the different meets that we've had, and that's kind of blossomed into the friendship that we have. And those guys are awesome, and you guys are awesome. And I've actually, Resolve and I have met a couple times now. Three times?
Yeah, I think so. Times. Yeah, because you came up a couple times, yeah.
Yeah,
and I went down.
Yeah, the Christmas one, that was a ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Anyway, so that's how I came to the space, and so real quick, I think we'll save Chrono for last, since he's got a unique story too. And so do you. You actually do too, Resolve. It's just kind of fun story. So Resolve, take it away. How did you kind of come to the forum, and then how did you meet the Headphones guys, and then come into the space and what have you?
I think, similarly to, I think everybody sort of knows my story for like how I got into headphones, because it's very similar to what you were describing as well. Where like the first time you hear like something actually good, you're like, oh, this is a thing. Now I gotta get into this more.
Where's that rabbit hole again?
Yeah, exactly. But actually, one thing I think people probably don't know is that before I was into, like, everybody kind of is initiated a little bit by HeadFi, and maybe to a certain extent Reddit as well. And these are great places to dip your foot in. But I was actually an SBAFfer. I was I think actually Ian was as well.
yeah, he was. Yeah.
And so is Tacos and C Skippy, and there's a lot of those guys there who were really into it, and so for me, I came over from SBAF. Not there wasn't any reason that I was like, oh, I don't like SBAF. And actually there was a lot of really useful information on SBAF that I was enjoying. But the thing that kind of when I learned more about this stuff, I realized that like not all of it was as concrete as I thought it was, and it was just presented in that way. And so there's a little bit of like, okay, what's where can we go beyond this? What's actually going on with a lot of this stuff? And then and actually then that was when I kind of took a step back a little bit, and it was only until actually Android reached out to me. But that was he reached out to me. It was because of a thread on HeadFi that had to do with the CL2 planar IEM from RHA, and I mean, this is sort of an infamous story a little bit, but I had given a pretty scathing review of that IEM, and in the HeadFi thread, everybody was well, not everybody, but a lot of people were like loving it, and I was just sort of pointing out like, this actually has ridiculous shout and 3 to 5K hertz. Like, I don't know how anybody could like this. Like, I think I said in the review, like, it sounds like marbles in a tin can being thrown down a hallway.
Yes.
And and then actually Anthony with his very nice way of saying things, pointed out that, a lot of this has to do with the relationship between, the IEM and the person's ear canal and all this kind of stuff that, maybe there are legitimate reasons why people like this, and it just doesn't work all that well with my ear canal, and that's why I hear it so intensely. But in any case, he was the one who introduced me to the Headphone forum, and introduced me to Andrew and Taryn as well. And then ever since then, it was like kind of, hey, we live in the same city. They actually didn't live, I was living not too far from them at the time. And so I'd always go over there and hang out with them. We go for beers or something and just talk about headphones. Cause like we weren't, there was no like, oh yeah, you're a reviewer kind of thing. It was like, we were just, having long conversations about headphones and like, having some drinks and, because those guys, I mean, like, you guys know me as like, a super headphone nerd kind of guy, but like they're the same way. They love this stuff just like the rest of us. So, so it was really, I remember thinking, man, like we were sat in a bar, talking about headphones for hours, realizing, this is potentially a great, relationship and friendship that we're kind of setting down the path of. And so ever since then, that's sort of how I've gotten into it, and then they've empowered the channel and everything, right? So since then, but I think that answers the question of how I got into the
it's pretty fantastic. Reading's fairly similar, like you said. I actually want, real quick, Chrono, before I jump in with you real quick, the funny factor that you mentioned, people that, if you've never been to like a headphone meet, or like especially of a more private nature, or like a like kind of a smaller get together kind of headphone meet, I will say, for my experience of that, is that usually you'll have two groups. You'll have the group that's like ignoring everybody, and they're just like in their headphones, and they're just bop, like they're going through all the different chains. And then you have the other 90% of the people
who don't even listen to headphones at all.
Who aren't listening, and they're just chatting. Like, we're having huge conversations, we're having a good old time, and it's such a crazy thing. And I always joked with like Ian and the brothers Listmore about how like you have these headphone meets, and headphones is such a intimate hobby, right? Because it's all about your sphere here, right? Like, there's no I mean, you can share, there's different ways to do that, but generally it's a very intimate, personal thing. And it's funny because you go to these meets, and it's like this super like opposite of that, where everyone's just like chatting and having a good old time. So Nemesis asks, what forum? Well, it's forum.headphones.com. But anyways, Chrono, real quick, how did you come to the lovely forum.headphones.com? And how did you become part of this lovely family, or let's say brotherhood of headphones?
It's definitely a brotherhood. The headphone brotherhood was the other,
the
other name.
It was pretty fast. I'm not really sure how it happened, but
I kidnapped him, so now
we
don't let him out.
Wait.
Chrono's actually in the closet of Resolve's house right now.
Yeah, we don't let him out.
That's why we don't have a webcam. It's really dark.
That's why it's so hot. That's why he was complaining about the heat of his.
It's a Harry Potter story.
It's a Harry Potter story. Yeah, exactly.
It's nice. He's got his little bed. He's comfortable.
Yeah.
There's an elf on the other side of the room, but don't mind him. Anyways, what is it that the elf called? I can't remember the name. But so like Dobby. The whole quarantine. Well, first of all, I've always loved music, right? Guitarist. My family has a bit of a musician background. I think everybody in my family plays some kind of instrument as a hobby, and eventually I started playing the guitar, right? So obviously, love for music, love the Beatles. You know that. Sure, that doesn't need. Sorry, the Beatles. Sure, you don't need any repetition of that. So when the whole Corona thing started to unfortunately unfold, I was like, well, I'm gonna be stuck at home. I know I'm gonna be at my desk all day listening to music, playing games from now on, just because schoolwork doesn't matter. And basically, I was like, well, I want something nice to listen with, so I was like, I'll go with the LCD 2. And then I was like, when I got it, I was like kind of disappointed by it, honestly. But then I got into the whole EQ thing, and I was like, wow, this is really impressive. I just really want to share my experience out there, because I feel like it was a headphone that I think got a lot of negative rep in general. It seems to be like, oh, no detail, dark, muffled, all that. And I was like, yeah, but with the EQ thing. So I was like, I really wanted to share that. And then I posted on Reddit, and probably
And
like a couple days after, a couple days after that, I get my Twitter inbox like from Rasul, hey, have you ever heard?
You should see the conversation from the other side. Who are you, creepy old man? Why are you?
I have candy. Get in the van.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have headphones. Get in the van.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah. It's a headphone van. Come in.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, it wasn't like that, but
we have DACs
like
and amps.
And Metal 571.
Oh yeah.
He had shared the thing on Twitter, so that got some traction. So I moved from Reddit and ended up moving to the headphones community forums, and things kind of developed since there.
You were saved from the Reddits to the forums. You were found.
But actually, I just see some of the comments in the chat here. I don't want to make it sound like I don't like what SBAF's doing. Marvy, there's a lot of really good stuff and information there. Yeah, it was just that mainly it was the conversations around CSD that actually kind of pushed me away from there. What they're doing with that is like it looks really compelling, I think, but I'm not totally convinced that it means what we think it means, and so there was a lot of reading that had to happen after that to make me think maybe there's something else going on here, and conversations with Mad Economist and Oratory and Metal 571, a lot of these people who are really entrenched in this hobby, that made me kind of want to go, I want to learn more. So
that's the fun part of it, right? It's a continuous journey.
Yeah.
So we're all on this. I like to say it all the time. It's we're all on this audiophile journey together. We're all just on different paths, right? We all just have different experiences and paths that we're all
exactly. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like with guys like Marvy and all the SBAF guys, it's like they care about. They're interested in this stuff too. They're after the same thing. They want the best sounding stuff. So it doesn't really matter which forum you're associated with. Like people are into this hobby for similar reasons.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
As long as I like the other thing I'm a big fan of is the don't tread on me factor, right? As long as everyone is happy, and hey, if you have your experience and you like it, then cool.
Yeah.
Get at it, Anyways, I also had a couple quick questions for both of you, real quick. So outside of for me, so I'll jump into myself, just as this is also a kind of introduction for you guys to who I am. I'm a big hobby collector. So
yeah, I'm actually always amazed. I'm like, how? Like you have what? You're getting what now?
Yeah, I have this really nasty habit of I love trying new things as much as possible, right? So my thing is I usually gravitate to things that have a lot of nuance or a lot of make it your own, or make it it's a lot of interpretation even. So like art, not that I'm an artist, but but photography is a big one. I love whiskeys, rums, a lot of those, or even beers, craft beers, even though I've kind of gravitated away from craft beer. I'm more in the whiskeys and rums lately. But big, I got real hard. Actually, it's funny because audio, the headphone thing, and Torque got me into photography. I actually got way into photography because I needed to take pictures for the reviews, and so it kind of tied back full circle. But my other big ones are I love to read. I love photography. I love reading books, comic books. I love pop culture stuff, movies, all that fun stuff. But gaming is a big one for me too. So
you recently just built a computer, didn't you? A new
So just to get see it. I have a full gaming sleeve. If you guys aren't aware of that, so it's that's easy to show, the Zelda with the hearts and stuff. But anyway, so I'm a big gamer, and I did just build a new PC. It was also, the reason behind it was because my first PC was made for strictly gaming. I didn't care about streaming, so I had the CPU was based on the whatever. But yeah, so there's my messy room. There's my new PC.
Stormtrooper.
Rick and Morty. Yeah, the Stormtrooper. But so that's another thing. I do love building PCs too. I think that's super fun. I've always enjoyed that tech side of things. I love tinkering with like
something cathartic about it. You sort of.
Yeah, there really is. And so that's the kind of stuff I get into. I love. I built my bottlehead crack that was sitting on top of the computer there, and I love doing those kind of things. I like the things that have a lot of nuance to them. But my big ones are photography, obviously headphones. And I love another thing I'm a big fan of, and I don't know if you can call it a hobby, but I love community, right? Like I love interacting with people and seeing where their stories have brought them, like who they are. Like it's such a cool. So it's always fun.
At the meetups, you're one of the 90%.
Yeah, yeah, which is funny because I'm actually like people. If I'm not talking to people, I'm actually very reclusive. I don't really talk to people. But you put me in a setting and I'll. Yeah. So that's kind of my I'm a hobby collector, but so kind of going back to you guys, Resolve. I know that you play. You should talk about this. You used to be somewhat of a StarCraft player.
Yeah.
What are your hobbies? I know you also like photography. It's kind of a necessity in this space, but
so I don't want to say I was a pro, but I was like at the point where I was getting beaten by pros. So and that's where I realized, like this takes a lot more. When you start getting beaten up by, all the Koreans and tournaments, and you can't go any further because you're always facing the same people, it's like, man, I'm never gonna.
Plateau. It's kind of like lifting weights.
But like you do still practice makes perfect, right? So you can still always still improve and stuff. But like the amount of time that's required, to be on that level, to consistently be at the very top is nuts. So
what's the record recently for like the most actions in a minute or something like that one of the players did?
I don't know.
It was something insane. It was something bananas. I was like, how is that even physically possible? But anyways.
Yeah, like I don't know if that matters as much because of the way that it's tracked. Because like if you has to do like with the way that the system records actions, because you could have one thing that's just holding on a button that could potentially count as like 50 actions.
Multiple.
Right? Yeah, so you don't. It's not always the same. But it's a lot of. I mean, this sounds funny to say that, but it's actually a lot of hard work and like training, right?
Oh yeah.
But no, I
fully agree.
Yeah, apart from that, I mean, these days I haven't had time to do that in way too long, and I missed that a lot because that was definitely something that I enjoyed doing. It's actually the reason why I enjoyed it was because it was a great opportunity for me to listen to music actually, and like because I just mute everything and just listen to music, and it was actually a way for me to like discover music. And I had a job at the time. I was doing public relations and communications work, and like we were doing like documentary films and stuff like that. And so that was my kind of work, and then to sort of de-stress from that, I had this other thing, and obviously during like grad school and university days and stuff like that as well. But no, apart from that, I'm also really into photography.
You take some fantastic pictures.
And videography, and that kind of stuff. But that's more as a like professional vocation kind of thing for me. Like it's always been I wouldn't really say that it's a hobby. It is a hobby as well.
Work.
But yeah, there's like
work.
there's a work component there that it's always been there. And like to that end, like I like creating stuff. That's one of the reasons why I do this. That's why I started that, not this channel but the previous channel. It wasn't because I was trying to make it as a YouTuber or anything like that. I was just like, I like making stuff. I like talking about stuff, and
it's fun.
It's fun, yeah. So everything from keyboards to headphones, obviously. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're big into keyboards too, right? Yeah.
Not as much as most though. Like I'm still in probably the.
Yeah. You haven't built your own or have you?
Yeah, like I have a bunch of customs and stuff, but I've never built my own. I've never soldered my own, but I do have like a bunch of customs.
That's probably gonna come soon.
Well,
yeah, I've actually been like, but they're expensive, man.
It is. That's the thing. It's like if you look at it,
expensive.
it's cool, but like it actually costs you more than if you just buy a pre-made one. Yeah. So
but people are really into like customizing the keycaps, their PCB, and then the kind of lubricant they use for the keys.
They actually will open up the switches and put in the plates and the switches to prevent it from being like I watch Alex Odos He's another Canadian.
Oh yeah,
guy.
I saw him recently.
So,
I was checking out his stuff. Yeah,
dude, he does some fantastic
really
work.
cool.
And then
yeah.
there's a couple people in the Discord and the forum that do a lot of that stuff too. So
yeah, I need to get back into that because like I did do a little bit of like I got one of the keyboards I have. It's got the 65 gram loop Zelios, which is like. But the thing is, I never use it because it's just still too much weight for me. Like I prefer the 45 gram EC electric capacitives, but it, it was cool to do that, initially. But I'd love to get back into that. Yeah, just a Microsoft keyboard.
Well, it's because I've always been like me. I mean, my favorite games are Nintendo, right? But if I'm playing something that's not Nintendo, because I love The Legend of Zelda, it's my absolute favorite franchise, probably after that Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. But I'm not playing that. I'm playing
acquisition.
First-person shooters. I kind of had an experience like yours with StarCraft. Like I went really like hard into Apex Legends, and then I kind of got to the point where the only people I would matchmake against were like the pro teams, and I was just getting stomped, and I was like, well, this is no longer fun.
We played some Call of Duty with this kid.
Yeah, we play Call of Duty.
I think I died like that, and it was like I was like, oh hey, killing a bunch of people. I was like,
Yeah, I realized
he's carrying us.
Well,
he carried us pretty hard. Yeah.
But recently I've been getting rusty at that, so now I moved on to World of Warcraft, where unfortunately that's the thing. Like my friends, the friends I play with are always super competitive. So at everything we play, even though we start casually, we end up just going like super hard. So now we're like trying to become best in the server, in World of Warcraft. Like it's like, oh man,
every game's like that. Hashtag goals.
That's my problem too, though. Like that's why I can't. Like I have such a hard time just doing something casually because even if like when you start doing it like competitively, it does suck a little bit of the fun out of it. That like competitive drive just sort of takes over, and it's just like because I was the same way. Like it's like I was
that way with Halo back in the day. Like we got way hardcore, but like if you start losing, we'd get all like angry. Like I had friends who would like break controllers. And like I remember it was pretty gnarly, man. Like, and then I remember as you get older, you're like, why?
But I see, like I wish I could do that again. It's just it's so time consuming that. Well, it's not that it's time consuming. It's just that my other stuff is time consuming, so I can't do that stuff as much, right? So,
well, this was,
priorities.
Both of you guys actually like. I don't know if everyone else appreciates. I know there's like Martin and Mr. Photography and those guys are photographers and editors and videographer guys, but editing, like photos even, and let alone video. Man. I can waste I say waste, but like I'll go like sometimes one picture that I'm editing will take me hours. And you get so lost into like, especially if I'm using like I have this macro lens, going and like. Also, I'm like, oh, a dust speck. Oh, another dust speck. And then I'm like, oh, the color's right. And then next thing I know, it's like, hey, the wife's, you need to go pick up the daughter. And I'm like, it was just 8 a.m. What the hell happened to the day?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like so like right now, I mean, for the channel, we're kicking out videos like pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Like every couple of days, we have another video out there. And it's really been helpful now that Chrono's joined us. But in my previous video editing work and video production stuff that I've done, it would be unheard of to turn around a video in the span of 2 weeks. Days. Yeah, like 2 weeks is like no, we would.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, like a turnaround in 2 weeks is just like that's just like when we don't take the contract, back then at least. And now it's like, well, now the turnaround is like every couple of days, and I think that's a lot of that is just it's a different space, a different media space, But I mean, maybe we'll do that again where we spend a long time on a video or something like that, and make it super cinematic and everything and look really great.
That's something I want to dive into because I'm still new to the video world, and I think that's what I like. I like that. I guess I'm more of the arty farty type when it comes to that stuff.
Arty,
artsy.
No, I liked it the way you said it.
Like the arty farty.
Farty.
It rolls off the tongue better, Chrono. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like a nice smooth. Okay, I'm going too deep.
But I actually like editing. That's the thing. Like I like doing it. It is time consuming.
it's to me the editing part like is there's multiple parts to it, right? Like so in Chrono can appreciate this too. Is like there's the initial part of the taking. Let's just stick to a photo because that's more my jam. But it's finding the subject, right? The subject matter. So let's say it's a flower, right? And you get and you're like, okay. Then you try to find the composition while you're taking the picture. You're trying to find the f-stop. I'm going into weird photography stuff right now, but you get the composition, and then once that's done, that's an art in and of itself, is getting that the actual capture taken. And then the next piece is then getting it into editing software and then creating recreating what you saw. Like, so it's super subjective, like where it's like what was, and someone's really good, is it Mark Grobler, he's a Australian photographer, and he said it really well. I shared it with you, Chrono, but like he says it really well, where he's like it's what you as the photographer took that picture, what you remember seeing, like that the emotion and the thought. So it doesn't necessarily have to be accurate to what, like a color accurate, but it's what you remember seeing and making it your art of, that's your style, your art kind of deal. And so I think that's what's fun with that post editing is bringing out that the like that art of it, right? And getting it to look the way you remember it. Sorry, I went deep on photography.
No, I was just thinking
I'm
about
actually trying to get more into like the whole film and photography thing, but
it's
just such a struggle for me because I had no experience whatsoever before I started doing this. I've just kind of been learning as I go, and I try to make each video better. You've probably seen that my videos vary a lot in their level of quality right now.
I just want to real quick, Chrono. If people don't know, everything that Chrono's producing is from his iPhone. Like, just think about that for a second. Like, that's
all the B-roll and everything too.
All the B-roll, all the pictures. Like, it's
like the shirt moire.
The shirt moire. Yeah.
Yeah, everything right now is on
he has to get that sweater game.
My favorite was like in the comments, you see like comments saying "never wear that shirt again."
Or never wear that sweater again as well. It's like, man, it's like, listen, I like
people
my
are mean.
sweaters.
People are mean. It's nature.
Yeah, I just ordered some more sweaters from Uniqlo the other day to step up the sweater game, man.
That's part of it. Yeah. But yeah, it is
iPhone gang.
The photo like editing and video editing stuff. I mean, someone says, Martin says editing in Zen mode. I mean, a lot of that is that same kind of like you just get into the creative process, and that's what's fun about it. I mean, sometimes it's like I've had this all the time where like I really love the process of the edit, and then the result isn't that great. You know, like I just did one recently. I was like, I don't know if I like the way that looks, but like doing it was fun, right? Getting into the edit and making it look, you know, to the composition that I originally wanted. It just turns out that the composition sucked or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I'm fully with you. When that happens to me, I try to do my best to step away for a while and come back to it and try to find get it back to where it should be, maybe. But it's tough, man.
You know who's really, really good at this stuff is Denfi, the photographer. Mm-hmm. His stuff is like it's Denfi. I think it's denfi.com or denfi.org. I can't remember.
Yeah,
something like
Instagram
that.
Too. Like,
his Instagram. Like his photos are just. He's got really good composition for that stuff.
Yeah. He's got it nailed for the PC stuff for sure.
Yeah. So it's not just like headphones; it's lots of stuff. But yeah.
In fact, he's one of the reasons I was when I was so I used to post a lot in our headphone porn. That's where I posted a lot of my pictures originally, and he was a big inspiration for me with my photography initially. But fun stuff, random.
I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah, we totally went off on the photography stuff.
Yeah.
Actually,
other hobbies. That's what we're talking about.
Other hobbies. Yeah, we're talking about other hobbies and what we all kind of do.
Oh,
so
I do have one. I do have another one that occupies my time when I'm not doing this stuff, and it's actually reading philosophy. That's my other interest, I guess. But yeah, I'll let Chrono.
Cool. I love psychology myself.
Anime. That's it. From video games, anime, and headphones. That's what it is right now.
Someone did ask the games we all are currently playing. I have every console and I tend to play a bunch of games randomly. I don't finish that many, but I do finish a couple. But my current favorite right now, and it's a game I've been waiting for forever, is I actually bought a PS4 just to play this game, was the Ghost of Tsushima. So
you're really liking that, yeah.
Oh, that game is so good.
That looks awesome, that game.
So I have a bunch of martial arts background and what have you too, and nothing crazy, but mostly mixed martial arts and some stuff like that. But and then obviously law enforcement, military stuff when I retired. But That game is fantastic, and I love Samurai. I've been wanting this game since I was a little kid. I think I read Shogun when I was like 9, which is crazy because that's a really ridiculous book for a 9-year-old. But I loved Samurai and like Japanese culture from that era and that time frame. And so, and ninjas, of course, because what kid doesn't love ninjas? And so Samurai and Ninja, I just loved it. I loved everything about it.
Oh yeah,
You know, and I've been wanting this. This game is pretty much what I've been wanting in that kind of a game for a long time. So it's like I actually don't sleep because I don't get to play games that much, and you guys can appreciate that. What you just talked about is I put the daughter to bed, and depending on how much sleep I get, like this will how much game time I get. So do I want to sleep or do I want to play some games? So that's what I've been playing. So we'll go to, and Andrew, we'll save Chrono because I think he plays more games than both of us. But Andrew, what games or what's the game that you are at the top of your mind right now?
It's always still SC2, but it hasn't been lately because I just time. But no, I recently I got into Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC because I don't have any consoles or anything, right? So it's only PC for me. But yeah, well, the thing is, like, I held off on getting because I was like, I don't. Those types of games are not really I prefer the kind of like, isometric kind of strategy stuff, or like FPS or something like that. But the reason why I got it and what I'm enjoying about it is that it's basically I treat it kind of as like a horseback riding simulator. And when I was a kid, I actually I don't know if you guys know this, but when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm, and I had a horse, and there's. It's not just that it's the horseback riding and everything in it, but like the environments are very similar to the environment like where I lived growing up. It looks just like that. So I've really been enjoying that aspect of it because it is one of those things where you don't need to really focus or pay attention because it's not exactly challenging. It's more just about exploring and having fun. So I've been liking that one. But apart from that, it's just occasionally back into SC2. See if my skills have deteriorated.
So, I totally appreciate that. That's how I kind of feel about the Ghost of Tsushima because you have a horse and that kind of stuff. But it's relaxing, to me, anyways. And it's not as I have OCD a bit about games, especially open worlds where I have to do everything. And so like if it's overwhelming, I'll be like I get overwhelmed.
I can't stand that where like you're doing a thing and then it's like here's this side thing that you could do, but you're like I want to do that, but I'm doing this other thing. And what do I do?
I get task paralysis. And,
that's my problem. And then I'll just turn it off and I won't do it.
I'm surprised that I got through Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I really liked the game, but there was so much.
That's the last one that I love that game. And I got to Athens, I think, and all of a sudden it was just like, and I was like,
yeah, they just kind of like dumped the world map on you and like 600 gazillion quests. I was like, oh.
And in the space of like this, there's 50 freaking things you have to check out. I was just like, yes, that game is fantastic too. And then I also have ADHD, so I tend to be like, oh, what's that? New shiny. So the side quests, when they're like, oh, hey, look over here, it's like, oh, okay. So, but anyways, Chrono, what's the jam?
Call of Duty and World of Warcraft is what it's been for me. Unfortunately, I don't have a Switch at the moment. I was very stupid and sold it right before everything went down.
But isn't there a new one coming out?
One.
Yeah, I thought there was.
I don't think
they
so.
They just had a new one that just dropped with it was an update, but it wasn't like
the Switch Lite. The Switch Lite. I like the Switch Lite.
Okay.
It's pretty dope. But I wish I could have played the new Animal Crossing game because it looked pretty chill. And Breath of the Wild, I've spent so many hours in that game, and I still yet to do more stuff because I'm super OCD completion is why I play those kind of games. And but yeah, mostly right now has been the multiplayer stuff on PC. I played Red Dead. I got I think like halfway through, and then just didn't continue for some reason because I got kind of absorbed into World of Warcraft because my friends really wanted to start playing that, and now we got into it. And now it's just been really tryharding, raiding dungeons, all that kind of stuff.
That's the thing. It's something about the competitive aspect that is just. Well, I mean, it's not competitive in the like. Yeah, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, progression.
But I like you. I agree. It's like playing games is such a great opportunity to just listen to music, and I try to squeeze in gameplay footage whenever I can into the videos. I've put in some Call of Duty stuff a little while there in there as well. And that's actually what I'm doing most of my listening tests. I'm just listening to music while I play games. Obviously, the game is muted, but it's just a great opportunity to just relax, listen to music, play with some friends.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, mostly multiplayer because competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. OCD and ADHD is not a badge of honor. It sucks. It's not a fun thing. Last round. It's not. I wish I did not have it, to be honest with you. I think I'd get a lot more accomplished in my my day to day. Anyways, yes, I also agree with you guys on those things. I'll get pulled into the Call of Duty and the because I enjoy those things. I'm just slow and old now, so it's harder. So I have to play more tactically, which then people get all angry and like, oh man, you don't play right. What do you mean I don't play right? I'm not rushing at you full sprint.
Yeah, I remember doing like really competitive FPS like when I was younger with like CS 1.6 and stuff like that. No, CS:GO as well, but trying to get back into that now, it's like the reaction time just isn't there, and like it's like, oh man, I can't believe I used to do this. Like
I've stopped playing them a bit more recently because my arms, I don't know, they feel a little stiffer. Actually, I had to switch mouse recently because it just hurts now to use the mouse I was using that I've used for the longest time now.
I use this Logitech G Pro wireless, which is I like it a lot because it's like really good battery life on it. And I don't have to like plug it in like that often.
I was using a Razer Viper Ultimate, which is also wireless. I used that for a year.
God.
And before that, I was using the Razer Viper.
I hate that.
And I loved it. And that's the mouse that got me through Apex, Call of Duty. And now it just hurts too much, so I went to a Death Adder because it's even more economic.
Dude, Naga, I have to have my buttons on my mouse. So the Naga Trinity is my because otherwise like I can't like it's I have too much of a hard time like remembering where all the buttons are on the keyboard. So
yeah, I feel that.
If you think about it,
I was way addicted to Destiny 2 for a while there. Too.
Oh yeah, we should get into that because I have it I think somewhere.
Yeah, and that's
I have it too. It's on Steam.
Easy
great game. It's very keep up with the Joneses and
that's the thing with all those is that you actually got to invest into them and get time into them.
Yeah. But if you just do it casually and if you're playing with friends, it's actually I enjoy that way more. Like even if you're not trying to pursue like the raids and that kind of stuff, but it's just running around doing patrollers, doing random missions. It's just a fun game to play with friends.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Just squatting up is very fun in that game. I would like to try it again sometime.
All right, I'm down. Let's do it.
Destiny stream with headphones.
Destiny
Hi-Fi Destiny.
Hi-Fi headphone Destiny stream. That's another thing we're working on actually.
If I remember, the visuals in that game are pretty striking as well.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
So yeah, I think that would be I agree. I think that's such a fun thing. That's another thing about gaming too. Like that's the main reason I gamed a lot too, really hardcore was friends. Like that's why I got into FPSs because we had in the military we had a bunch of people like you'd make friends and then they'd get stationed someplace else and you're all over the country and places. And so like that was the only way to stay in touch. So we'd have like game nights and like it was just such a blast, man. We'd have so much fun doing that stuff. And then we all got old and had kids and
lost the reflexes.
Lost the time. The time was always the biggest thing.
Oh yeah.
But and then trying to coordinate schedules between multiple people. It's just but anyways, I think with that, I think we're pushing into hour and a half now. Is that what we're looking at? I think we keep going. I just wanted to
do some questions with the chat maybe.
And do some questions with the chat exactly. So with that, there was one other thing I kind of want to talk about, but I don't think it's really too much.
Someone says, "What do you read, Andrew?" I think he means philosophy. So I spent a long time in analytic philosophy, so a lot of it would be reading. It's not like necessarily like history of philosophy as much anymore. It's more reading papers that contemporary philosophers are putting out. Actually, I think I'm still an editor on philpapers.org. I think I was for a while, and I don't think they ever took away my access, even though I haven't been doing it in like years. So yeah, every once in a while, I'll see something new come out from one of the people that I like to follow. But for older like history philosophy type stuff, I like. I was really into some of the like metaphysics stuff like Malebranche and Leibniz and Spinoza and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun for me. Pretty much anything that's analytic philosophy focused is my jam. You're a continental boy. Somebody, he says he's a continental boy, meaning he's all about Husserl, Heidegger, and Kierkegaard. And oh no, Kierkegaard's existential. What am I talking about? Husserl, Heidegger.
Nietzsche.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
I read a bunch of his stuff, not a bunch, but I remember on the boat there was a guy. When I used to be stationed on a boat for a while, and there was a guy that was hardcore into Nietzsche, so I read a couple of his things because of him.
I did a lot of stuff on Sartre as well for a while, which was interesting because that's more
Chomsky was another fun.
yeah. But yeah, Sartre's whole thing was like the imaginary and that kind of stuff, and being and nothingness, which is kind of a play on Heidegger's thing, being in time. Like all that stuff is super interesting as well. But I didn't get into it as much as like the hardcore normative tradition of Kant and forward. So all logic, everything is normative. Yeah, but. Anyways, yeah, we should take some questions from the chat.
Yeah, let's do some chat questions. And I'm trying to find this one philosopher that I really really like, and now I can't. He totally slipped my brain. Like as soon as I was like, oh, that guy, and it just.
If you guys want like a really easy, I like a lot of political philosophy as well, but like if you guys want a really easy read in philosophy but still interesting, Simon Keller's The Limits of Loyalty. Definitely check that one out. Very like it doesn't get into the like dense kind of stuff. So yeah. But as far as like the things that I was like actively interested in when I was doing it was I did a lot of philosophy of mind. So read a lot about representationalism, did a lot of epistemology, that kind of stuff, theory of knowledge. But yeah, more questions from the chat and less alienating people with philosophy jargon.
What have we done?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm confused.
Yeah. It's a bit punitive if you go further into the.
I always love psychology too, which kind of ties to philosophy to some level. But yeah, it's such a fun stuff to read. Such fun things to read about.
Yeah. Here's a question. What are you guys at with WASAP and so WASAPI, ISO, and direct sound? What do you recommend? I have somewhat of an answer, but I will let Tyler go first. Oh, do you want me to just take it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think that in the best cases it makes a tangible difference, but I think if possible, I would do Wasapi. Because not necessarily for Wasapi, because like you could do all this stuff with Foobar, you could do a Wasapi push and Wasapi event and all this stuff, and that would allow for basically it would put everything into exclusive mode. And while that might be ideal, it's really inconvenient. So what I recommend actually, if anybody wants to like level up their digital audio chain, if you're okay with doing that kind of thing and you want to get into doing that thing, I recommend getting Roon and then using Qobuz through Roon. And to me, that actually sounds the best. I don't know, Chrono, you had a similar experience as well.
Oh yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah. I love Roon. I was comparing it the other day, just the standalone Qobuz app, so like the app for Qobuz that you download versus Qobuz to Roon, and it sounds noticeably better.
And it's weird because you don't you think that shouldn't make a difference, right? Like FLAC versus 320 versus like 24-bit, like this stuff that
Roon is fantastic for this. I agree.
But that's the thing, like Roon really does, I don't know, maybe this is just like placebo, but like Roon to me does sound better. Especially when using Qobuz through Roon, like Qobuz files.
Qobuz, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's been my experience as well. Like that happened again today. I was listening to one song and then I opened it on Roon. I was like, "What?"
I've had that too. It's like, what is going on here? Like, not just like placebo. Like, I feel like it can't be placebo because you can just go back and forth.
Well,
really
there's too
easily.
many people that are experiencing it.
Yeah.
Too, so there's that factor too. But
the only downside is, of course, it's hella expensive.
I'm so mad at myself. I could have bought it when it was the lifetime was still at like $400, and I was like, oh. I'll get it later. I have other toys I want to get, and it's so hard. Like I'll spend that kind of money on stupid stuff.
Well, it's only the same price as Spotify if you amortize it over the year, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It might even be less expensive.
Well, for the lifetime, sorry.
For lifetime.
There's a lifetime
okay.
subscription you can get, but they just upped that to like it's like $700 or $800 now for the lifetime. But it used to be $400.
Yeah, it's like I think it's around 600, 700, somewhere around that.
Yeah,
In that
I think it's
ballpark.
$700, $699.
That's crazy.
In any
That's
case, it's expensive,
yeah.
especially when you consider that you
It's
pay
software. It's like
for the additional subscription of like Roon or Tidal or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So you have to double down, anyways, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and then well, then if you do like the double down subscription side too, then it's like you're paying for Runes, I think it's like $10 to $15 somewhere. It's in that $10 to $15 range a month. And then Qobuz for the studio I think is about the same, $10 to $15. And then if you do Spotify on the side too, that's another, depending on if you have any deals or not.
Yeah,
that's
Tidal's
another,
like 15,
10
20, yeah, something
and
like
Tidal's 10. So I mean, if you're not careful, you're gonna get subscription subscription rich.
Yeah,
I have all the subscriptions, but
I
none
got
of the
rid of my
headphones.
Spotify, even though I like the podcast and stuff on Spotify. It's just like I pay too much for this stuff and I never use it. So
Spotify is free for me through
Spotify.
T-Mobile. I think.
okay. Yeah.
So that's why I kept it. But and also all I share with my friends and family have Spotify, so I tend to share playlists to them. So.
What I do like about Spotify is that it actually has a decent player.
Yeah, it has good.
It doesn't actually mess up with Windows or when you're playing games.
Yeah.
You know, like your function
Spotify's
keys for playing, skipping, and
it's
all
definitely
that
better
stuff
than Tidal. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
Chrono.
the Qobuz one has started to recently like glitch up on me as well. Like if I try to pause play, it never works now.
Yeah.
Qobuz has always been bugging.
David asks, is Qobuz better than Tidal through Roon? So the advantage of Qobuz isn't necessarily that it's Qobuz, it's that you have access to like 24-bit high-res
It's the higher
files. Now, not high-res is in the sticker, but like 24-bit 96K, that kind of stuff.
No, the sticker.
There's
The
224 as well. Like
there's some really like high-res stuff there, and like
it's
there you go.
This.
Yeah, it makes yeah, exactly.
But it just puts a big high-res image on your desktop screen, and it won't go away while Roon's playing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's bottom right corner. It just says high-res now. But there's debate as to like the tangible benefits of 24-bit and like 96 or 192 and all that stuff, to the point where like I think there is good reason for people not to care too much about that. But at the same time, like listening to something through Roon, like Qobuz through Roon, it is better to my ear than just listening to Tidal. Or even probably just the Qobuz player. So I think it's more that there's something going on there with the player itself.
They're optimizing. Bits.
Well, when I go from the biggest difference for me is going from something like Qobuz to Spotify for sure. That's
Oh
wow,
that's like lossless to lossy though, man. Like,
but also there's different. Not all 320s are the same, right? Like some 320s are like, it has to do with like the OGG codec and stuff like that. Like
and Spotify uses a unique one, as I recall.
I don't remember which. I don't remember which is which. But like you can have good 320 and less good 320. Apparently, I haven't dug into it enough. But
it's just the way they optimize the packets or packages.
Yeah. And it makes sense because it's like if you're Spotify and you're dealing with such high volume of,
you're pumping.
Yeah. Like you can't be, And then of course there's the whole MQA debate as well, which I think at this point we're pretty much at the point where there's some question marks there. It's crazy, like all this marketing around DSD with IFIs, everything's DSD this and DSD that, and then now you see stuff that's all MQA this and MQA that, and you see kind of like the lag, like the delay for like the next industry darling standard that comes out for like the music that playback and stuff like that. And I don't get into that too much. Like,
I think FLAC lossless.
Yeah, FLAC is great.
Simple.
FLAC is great.
I like
but
a tuxedo. I like a martini. I like
but I think that's one of the advantages of Qobuz as well, is that you're not. It's not. There's none of that stuff going on as far as I can tell. It's just like good quality files.
Mr. Photography Marcello, he mentioned it too. Like, so there's an alternative to Roon, which isn't. So Roon does a lot of things that beyond just being a music player, right? Like it's an endpoint. It does music streaming to your house. There's so much. Roon is not just, that's part of why it's so expensive, I think, is because it's
definitely
way more. There's EQ in it that it pulls data from the internet to show you.
And the EQ is really good. Like the EQ,
really good.
Oh yeah,
so easy to use. Yeah,
Ooh,
and there's
ESD features are just.
You can have multiple DACs as sources all throughout, so you can like switch automatically. You can have it to where you go to another room, and that will have an endpoint, so you can have that as playing something separate while someone else is in another room listening to whatever they're listening to. it's crazy the stuff that's in there, and there's a whole group of people that are just working away at Roon and like making it super cool. But there is an alternative if you're just into it for the music and you're just using purely streaming. Audirvana is another.
Yeah, I've heard of Audirvana as well. Yeah.
And so and it does. As when I did the tests, I did the demos for the between them, and I was using what was I using at the time? I think I was doing Qobuz. I did Roon and Audirvana, and I was using Qobuz for both of them. And I would say Audirvana has a sweeter sound. I hate to use that term. It's such a weird term, but it has like a I don't know the way to describe it. Like it's such a minimal thing. It's so hard to describe. Like when you get into like that type of stuff, like
sounds like something somebody could accuse you
of being a weirdo, right? And you're like
snake oil salesman.
Correct. You could accuse me of that. But once you hear it, it's kind of like, and you do them back to back. Like there is that slight difference, and like, and I'm not versed enough to be able to speak on exactly what the differences are. But there was a difference, and it seemed like I like Roon better than Audirvana, based on that little bit of thing. But it was so minimal, it wasn't worth it. But Audirvana is a good alternative. Is what I'm trying to get.
Yeah. Somebody asked if Roon is good enough, or sorry, if not Roon, if Fubar is good enough. And my answer is but it's like a pain in the ass to use. Because they have the same protocols, right? They have Wasapi push and events. It's totally fine, but I hate using it.
Oh my god, dude, it's such a pain. And it takes forever to set up right. And then all of a sudden something will happen and it'll all break, and then you're like trying to figure out where the break was, or sorry, time comes back to time, right?
Yep.
I want things to just work.
Yep. I'm in that same boat now. It's like I'll pay a little bit to make it so that it just works and I don't have to mess with it. Yeah. To get to focus more time on things that I actually
want to do.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more question and
let's see.
Let's see anything about headphones, guys.
Let's do some headphones. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go round robin. Let's go. Full circle, not round robin.
Yeah.
60 with a tube amp. That'd be fine. 660s.
Yeah.
That's an easy.
This is interesting. I have a thought on this. You know, people. We've done 660s reviews, both Chrono and I have, and it's a good sounding headphone and everything. But for scaling, I think the HD6XX scales better. Yeah. And this might just be 300 ohm versus 150 ohm or something to do with that.
So.
But when using the HD6XX on the Phonitor X, it was like, holy moly. I totally get what people are saying. You know, the 6XX apologists are saying. But the thing is, like, with all of that, you could spend the same amount of money or less even and get a clear and a more modest source, and you would end up with something better, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, it does scale ridiculously well, and you can throw thousands of dollars of amps and sources at it and it'll make it sound better, but I don't know if that's limited. I don't know if that's the most value solution here. So I think for a lot of people though, it doesn't matter, because they're like, oh, I want to get something that I can have sound good now, and then when I get in the future, if I get more, maybe I'll get a ZMF pendant or a nice tube amp or something like that. That makes a certain amount of sense because there's like an upgrade chain there for it. But I still think you're better off spending more money on the headphones.
I agree. That'd be my personal. And you could speak on this too. I think we all have similar thoughts on this, but it's where if you're gonna spend money, I would always say, and someone says, "What's your I always ask, what's your budget? What's your sound signature? What are your things that you actually like currently?" And then from there, I always say, put most of your money into the headphone first, and then the amp, and then from there, then you can get a DAC that's good enough. I mean, because most of the time DACs are going to be such a minimal difference that it's you're going to get way more out of getting a higher end headphone and by higher end I mean better performing both in measurements and in reviews of people, consensus wise, that kind of stuff.
And don't get stuck in mid-fi hell, because you can just keep buying $400 headphones
and just be doing this.
Save, and then buy the $1,000 headphone.
Jump to it. I don't want to sound like a snob, but I feel like the stuff that's in the 1,000+ range it's pretty. It's on a different level.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say it. It just from my experience, it's been like, wow. It's almost like eye-opening.
And you had a cool experience with that because you were very much in the mid-fi, world for a long time there, right?
Yeah, because
why your reviews are so good too.
The only things I knew were
experience.
Yeah, everything has been like a new experience for me. Everything I had tested so far had been like before all this stuff. Has been like the 660, 600 stuff, the Bayer Dynamic stuff, and I love that stuff. I think it sounds great. I love the Sennheiser HD6 series, but then I compare it to something like a Clear, and it's like, wow, it's just wow. There's like it's strange. I feel like it's something that it's hard to explain because it's a very experienced kind of thing, right? And that's always hard to like explain or describe.
Yeah, definitely. I had another one, but I've lost it.
I'm trying to. Ananda worth getting. I have the no. I don't think the Ananda would be worth getting for you. If you had the Arya, would you want to go down to an Ananda? Is what the guy's asking.
No.
Yeah.
No. The Arya is better in every way. Now, frequency response is very similar, so I don't see why it's maybe a little smoother in the treble on the Ananda, but I think it's a step back in terms of technicalities.
Well, I had a question. Sorry, it's off topic, but because I recently got to try out the HD100, I was like, wow, the detail. Do you think is the Arya on this?
You briefly got a chance to try out the HD.
Yes, I briefly had the chance to try out the HD100, and we will not get into the details. Anyways, is the Arya similar in like detail? Like, is that?
Pretty similar, I'd say. Like, that's the other downside with the Arias that doesn't have the dynamics, like if you want dynamics, focal all the way. If you want soundstage and depth and layering and separation, that's the Aria, and similarly HD800S and stuff like that. Where I prefer the Aria though is I prefer the Aria's bass. I don't know, like maybe we can find out a way if we can get Chrono to listen to an Aria as well and compare them at some point, but like to me it's like the Aria is like a planar HD800S, like they're very similar in their strengths, but yeah, like the Aria, I like the bass better because it just, to me, the HD800S is an example of a headphone that's really detailed but not particularly fast, and like the leading edge is not as snappy and tight and controlled as it is on something like the Aria, and that's
I felt like it was actually fairly. I think it's faster than the Clear.
It's
probably
fast.
not. I'm guessing not as fast as the Aria.
It's not as. I think what.
And the other thing was like it really lacked dynamics in like the bass.
Yeah,
but it did have some of that like top end like I shouldn't say much about it, but the top end snap.
It's a good headphone. It's great. But I
I feel like it lacks some of that emotion in the bass. And no matter how I viewed it, I was like, well, I think this is the best the bass gets. But everything else, I was like, wow, really impressive.
But by the way, thanks Andrew for updating me on the score. I haven't been able to. Different subject. Okay. I did have another. I saw the question again. Somebody's asking about new headphones that are upcoming this year, and I don't know anything about. We talked with Focal recently in the live stream that we had with them. And they talked about 2021 or something like that. But they've been tight-lipped on like anything that they're working on because I think they're under like NDA, so we don't know what's going on there. But for new headphones that we do know about that are potentially coming out this year, they're what?
This month even, right?
Oh, this month? Oh, well, there's the announcement for Hi-Fi Man. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, the Penrose as well.
Yeah. And the Penrose from Odyssey should be coming out soon.
And then there's a new one from Hi-Fi Man this month, too. Or that they're going to reveal.
But we don't know yet what it is because like some people are saying maybe it's closed back, and that would be pretty cool if they did that. I am a little concerned because... So, like, I have a feeling that they're going to try and release something wireless, and I hate that. Not that wireless is bad. Like, wireless is cool, but I've not been a fan of... Like, I want something that I would be excited about, and wireless is just not that thing for me right now.
It looks a lot like the Deva, though.
There's like you can see kind of like the outline, right? There's like a silhouette of it a little bit, and so I think it's either going to be a closed back or it's going to be wireless, and I'm much more excited if it's a closed back. But there's a very good chance. I mean, their wireless stuff has been good sounding wireless. It's just that I don't know if we're there yet. For equivalent sound quality, wired versus wireless.
Well, you both have heard the Mobius.
Yeah, I have a Mobius here somewhere actually.
Yeah, well, no, I sent it to Dex, but Chrono, you've heard the Mobius?
No, I have not actually.
Well, for shame. Well, I guess I'm talking to Andrew then.
Mobius is a weird one, yeah.
Yeah, I find I liked it a lot for what it did, and then, but I agree with you though. I think once the wireless technology just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
I think but it's fantastic. I think eventually we will be there. It's just the nature of technology, but I would say wired is the way to go if you're an audiophile.
I'm excited for the Penrose, not for myself, but because I have a lot of friends who are gamers who are like and also console gamers. Are like they're looking for that competitive thing. And most of the time it's difficult to recommend audiophile headphones for people who are competitive gamers because you end up needing to get this DAC in the amp and all this stuff. And like some of us do this, but like for the average person who just wants a headset, it's a bit of a challenge to get into. And so the Penrose is exciting to me because it's basically a Mobius that
wired,
is
right?
It's a wireless. It's Mobius wireless, but low latency wireless. And that means that there's actually a reason for competitive players to buy it. Because that's the problem with the Mobius right now. It's branded and marketed as a gaming headset, but the problem is that why would you? Yeah, like I don't know why anybody who's doing anything competitive would use this wirelessly, right? Like wired, yes, you'd use the USB connection. It's essentially a USB headset.
Mine. I use mine USB the entire time.
Yeah, and then that's fine, right? Like there's no like the other weird thing to me is like the head tracking thing is I hate it. I think it just did not like for movies and stuff. It's great. It's really cool. But like for anything competitive, I would never use it. But the thing is,
if you're not used to it, it would.
It's really weird. Yeah. But the thing
you'll turn to think the turn, but then the sound will stay here, and it's so.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's because you're But once you get acclimated to it, I played I actually played the entirety of Assassin's Creed. I learned to talk just recently. I don't know if you guys knew this. But Assassin's Creed Origins, and with the Mobius, and I loved it with that. But that's how I think I acclimated to it. So when I did play FPS like Destiny and stuff, it worked a little bit better. But it still was,
The thing that weirds me out about it though, beyond all of that, is that without the 3D setting turned on, it has no soundstage. So like they're getting all of the soundstage from the
DSP.
From the like simulated 3D thing. Which is cool in a sense because it's like this is potentially useful for people who are trying to use this in competitive applications. But the other concern that I have about that is like I don't know how accurate that actually is. Whenever I turn it off, I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds more normal to me, right? Because I always like to me that sort of simulated 3D thing, it doesn't sound that normal. But it's as you say, I think you have to get used to it and get acclimated to it, and then maybe it is. Where you get more used to the headphones in-head localization aspects, and your HRTF kind of starts to normalize what's going on there with the sound. So
So that actually kind of speaks to one of the other questions in this even most recent one. Top for I currently use the Odyssey LCD GX, so that's a little pricey for gaming. I use it on my PS4 to play Ghost of Tsushima. But so the question is recommendations for non-audiophile friends for headphones, and then Keisha asked for under 300. So I think to tie them both together, right? So I'm gonna for competitive, under 300. So for competitive specifically, I think Chrono, you'll be able to better answer this. But I think for me personally, if I was to recommend something to my friends, I would probably push the PC37X from Drop, even though it is what it is. But you have to get a special cable to work with consoles. That one, or I would recommend. Trying to think the other one that was really good.
DT880 high impedance.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, the Bears.
What I mean, like they are not fun to listen to, but for
gaming.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, you're speaking competitive. A lot of people recommend the Sennheisers, the 58X, 6XX. No,
I wouldn't do the 5.
Too narrow. The imaging isn't precise from my experience in first-person shooters.
Too narrow, yeah.
But the imaging is mostly what gets me. So I would go with the. If possible, if that's an option that you can use with your console, I think some of the there's some amps designed for console, so I think you can hook them up via USB to the PS4 and Xbox. I would personally go with under 300, and I think that this would be under 300 in total. Be a DT990 Pro, which I think sometimes goes for 130 on Amazon.
Ear knives.
And a Antlion mod mic. And then there you have the best first-person shooter headphone
Had to
that
be careful.
I've listened to. No, but wait, it's because the treble is so exaggerated that it highlights footsteps. Because a lot of the, a lot of the crunch from footsteps is actually there in the upper mid-range and the and in the treble, so it actually highlights that stuff, and it's really good. The same thing with the reloads; you get to hear that pretty clearly on stuff like the
with the Mobius, there's a FPS preset, and it kind of makes it sound like that a little bit.
Actually, that's true. The Mobius, when I did put on the, it becomes super bright, and it's not the most enjoyable thing, but you can hear like footsteps a lot better with the DSP on.
Actually, so JS says footsteps are bass frequencies, and no, they're not. In most. It probably depends on the way that it's recorded in the game, but in most cases, it's not a bass.
Yeah, in most times, and if you have a headphone that has a lot of bass in it, you're gonna actually lose a lot.
It obscures it.
I actually feel like bass, like a lot of gaming headsets, like the stuff I've tried, at least the old ones from like Razer, stuff like the
which is funny because they all have a lot of bass.
Yeah, they have a lot of bass, and it just sounds so boomy, and I was like, I can't hear the footsteps because then all you hear is just the crunch from the treble, but you can't actually hear the actual footstep. You just hear the other parts of the sound effect.
You know what? My all-time favorite, if money wasn't an option for gaming, for FPS, and just in general, that I loved, and it's derided and people dislike it a lot, but I'm really angry with myself that I got rid of it. Was I had a modded HD 700, and I loved that for gaming. That was one of my favorites for gaming.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty popular for gaming as well. It's just that I didn't have good rep in music, so it disappeared.
Yeah. JS says CSGO 62 to 125 hertz. I highly doubt it. Like, I think that's something that you need to look at a Fourier transform response for to see what that actually is tokening. Like, you can find the audio track in the source files and then run it through a Fourier transform visualizer, and then you can get a sense of where it actually is.
Is that for the frequency of what?
CSGO. He says footsteps in CSGO is bass frequencies.
Really doubt it.
Highly doubt it.
There has to be a lot more going on.
Yeah.
There, because they're just too bright for them to be in that region.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If not, it would just be boomy. It would be like.
You'd barely even hear it. Like, yeah, no. There's definitely treble crunch. It sounds closer to snare drums than.
LCD2F for gaming, yeah, that's pretty good. The LCD2F has really good imaging. Yeah, I like that.
So the reason that Resolve is here today has just joined the chat. Hello, Android.
I thought you were saying that was the name of the person. I was like, what? Is somebody memeing me again?
Resolve squared.
Resolve squared. Yeah, that's another thing that's kind of interesting. So another piece of that, if I was to recommend a headphone for my friends that was not necessarily for competitive, but like kind of like a jack of all, I would actually, I do think that Sennheiser PC37X was good enough for most people in that realm, if that makes sense. Which I think is called something else, like the PC37D or something, like, or 37C or something.
No, that's it's the PC37X is the mass drop version, which is the all black, and then Sennheiser itself sells the Sennheiser Game 1.
Right.
Game 1, but there was one black before that that was better than the Game 1 in my opinion, which is the PC37 is based off of.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember.
But see, like, my answer to that question about $300, like, if you're gonna spend $300, I would just say spend $350 and get a Sundara, because it's so much better for everything in every way. Like,
is it for shooters? Because if it's competitive shooters, I couldn't use the Sundara in that, because I feel like the center image was
right. Okay, so maybe for imaging and like soundstage, but see, I don't know, because to my mind, it's like you get more detail there and you get more separation as well. So I don't know.
That is true.
But the downside with that too is that you need an amp, right? And then that brings the price up to like $450 or something like that. So that starts to get out of the budget a little bit. But
I mean, overall, I think the Sundara is the most balanced headphone there. Yeah, it would be the best one for music too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking of. It's like the best, like everything all around.
Best gaming.
If gaming,
I don't know, man.
Absolutely, competitive gaming. Was it? I just assumed when somebody said competitive, I thought it was just shooters. But if it's shooters, I think.
Yeah, that's why I would go with like DT880 for that, like CS:GO kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are tough. I think that's the problem is like you get into like it's funny because we all got into this for gaming, right? But then
Depends what it is, what kind.
It depends on what it is,
Yeah.
and then the sad part is once you hear, I know it's gonna sound like an elitist, but like once you hear good headphones, you can't go back to gaming headphones.
Well, you also
like,
realize how bad some of the audio is, and it's like, oh my god, especially some of the ported stuff. It's like, wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, and it's just really tough. So it's really hard to like recommend gaming headphones in general. I think because of that. Like I think when it's because there's a part of us that's like we want to do the service to the community of saying, hey, here's a good thing, and not that some of the gaming headphones are bad. It's just that they're not good. I mean,
just to get to that question that you had before though about how what do you recommend to non-audiophiles? What would be like the audiophile headphones that you recommend?
Costs, Porta Pros with Yaxi pads.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if that like the barrier to entry there is the look of some of the audiophile headphones.
That's fair. I mean,
also the openness, like some people cannot just.
Well, the openness for starters, because it's like, why would you wear headphones
cannot
if they
afford
leak
to have
sound?
the leaking and the sound and all that stuff.
I think that's the other confusing thing to a lot of people is they're like, headphones, why are they open back? That defeats the purpose. And it's like, well, actually, no, it doesn't.
I think I'd probably go if I had to choose a non-audiophile one. I think I'd go with Bose. Something from Bose. They're pretty relaxed.
Well, no, but it can still be an audiophile one. Just one that you recommend to non-audiophiles.
Yeah.
Well, what makes it an audiophile headphone? now I'm trying to think. It's like.
Sounding good.
Sounding good. I think also it's like it has to be not marketed to gamers would probably be one aspect of that. Not that that's the definitive factor.
Because usually people are going to recommend the HD6XX, right? Because that's
a
like
good recommendation, but it's open back.
Bad, I think.
Well, it's open back. That's I wasn't thinking for gaming.
No, we're just thinking for like
in general.
Non-audiophile.
Yeah.
Oh, the first an entry level. Oh, okay, so yes, entry level. So this is actually my recommendation. Is the actually, which I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but I always recommend the two that I recommend is the 6XX and the Hi-Fi Man 4XX, and I think that those are the two. I mean, you can do 5.8X too, but I personally think that the 6XX for a little bit more money is a better performing headphone. But I think those are the two entry points to both dynamic and planar, and then from there you can decide which like side of the fence you really like the most. Is it dynamics or planar? I think that's
a good way to like separate the two kind of like potential routes that you could go for a lot of it until you get up into the high end. But I was thinking if closeback is the thing to consider, because a lot of people are like, why would you? Man. Well, Elysia, I was gonna say the Elysia is actually one because it also looks great, but for entry level, for elevating people like into the hobby, the K371 is probably gonna be that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also, I think that the Sennheiser 598 CS.
598s, yeah, those are also fantastic.
And I know it's open back still, but the Odyssey LCD1. I think because it is small and portable and it doesn't look ridiculous.
That's fair.
It's extra normal, extra regular,
And it sounds very nice, and you can drive it off everything.
Yeah, exactly. Easy to like. So.
Or as Android would say, is it the iSign with the cipher cable?
Oh man, those are weird. Like you mean the in-ear ones?
No, the actual
the sign
ones.
The sign ones.
Sign, sorry.
Not really. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, but they're not comfortable. I can't.
Well, so Ant actually just got 2 new pairs.
Oh yeah.
In because he liked them so, but he said to make them comfortable, to make them good. He actually, I think he might correct me if I'm wrong, but he swaps out the pads to something else. I don't know what the pads are, but so that might be an answer.
That could because they sound great, right? And they had the DX as well, which was I think an open. They had one that was closed and one that was open. And I always wanted them. I love the idea, but then the fact that it was on ear completely.
I don't like on ear, man.
It's like why on ear should just not be a thing. It's just like why.
I mean, the Cost Border Pros are fine for whatever reason. I can get along with those. Generally, but because with the Yaxi pads specifically.
Yeah.
But I have because I love purple, so I actually bought a pair of the Grotto 125Es just so I could get the purple Yaxi pads.
Skull Candy aviator pads is what he puts on them. Interesting.
Yeah.
But and I wore those for like 30-40 minutes, and my ears were like, dude, take them off. Like they literally, my ears fell off, went onto my desk, looked at me, and said, "Hey, a-hole, take them off." But
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just me though. I think that they sounded pretty decent to me. They sounded, which is from my experience with grottos, they're not the most enjoyable generally, but for me personally. But those actually with
no, definitively for everybody. I mean, it's like if Harman research is a thing that's meant for the average consumer, Grotto is not gonna do well.
and I think with the Axie pads, they help tone down the aspects that make it not great for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that thing. That on ears is just not my jam usually. I have sensitive ears.
Yeah.
Though, so
Beat Solo Pro.
On that note, we should probably
we should probably start going.
Yeah.
Ant asked what the best tube amp was for ZMF specifically. I was gonna say I know the answer, by the way, and I'm gonna make him mad, but it's gonna be the Felix Audio Euphoria. Maybe?
I have not heard that one. I've always wanted to get into because the Elise was like right at the right price tag. I was like, I want to try that one, but it's like so hard to get it in Canada. I need those guys to like email me and be like, hey, or maybe I'll email them and be like, I want a review unit.
And surprisingly, they have some really affordable. Well,
they do
affordable tube amps. So they have the I think Sleepy Rhythms just got the Echo, and that's about the same price as a pre-built Bottlehead Crack with Speedball, I think.
Would you rather have the Euphoria or the Pendant for ZMFs?
That's tough.
Because I love the Pendant.
The Pendant's fantastic.
Enough where I want one.
I've only listened to the Euphoria
and Amps and Sounds.
ZMF, huh?
ZMF.
Yeah, but Amps and Sounds, there's the Mogwai and the Kenzie Encore, but the Pendant, from what I understand, is similar to the Kenzie Encore.
Kenzie. It's based off the mono. Yeah.
Right.
And they just converted it to
but then also the Glen OTLs are the ones that everybody seems to love.
I tried to get a Glen OTL.
I can't get one.
I tried.
Yeah.
He ghosted me. I was like, okay, take my money, and he was like, ghost.
Well, I know he stopped making them for a little bit, so I don't know what's going on there, but it would be awesome to be able to get one of those. I know they're out there in the wild somewhere.
I know. Actually, Rain Down Thunder. I think he's got one on the way from him. So hopefully he gets his in the next couple of months. I mean, obviously with the pandemic hit, it was. I think that was a big hit on things too. But I've heard the Glen OTLs and they are fantastic.
Yeah, Zach had them all set up in the booth at CanJam, which is
fantastic.
But also the Donald North stuff as well.
Oh yeah, the Stellaris is ridiculous. But then you can get the one below that, which is a more reasonable price, which is also pretty good. I would say though, if I had to choose between the Pendant and like let's say a Euphoria is expensive, but I would say the Euphoria, honestly.
Interesting.
If I could.
And then there's also the Aurus Audio stuff, like the high-end Aurus Audio stuff, which I haven't heard. Like I heard the original HA2 SE, HA2 SE or whatever it was called, and I was like, yeah, okay. But now they have like the crazy high-end stuff with the I think it's called Nirvana or something like that.
And they have like the white leather.
Oh, it looks so cool. You gotta love that. Like that just. Yeah, I met the guy at CanJam. He was very.
I like the pictures of. I think Andrew Lismore and Taryn have pictures of those guys with the rep and when they went to Germany last year.
Oh, okay.
Or the year before last, maybe.
I thought those guys were from Serbia or like.
I think they went whenever they went to one of the
Munich high end probably. That's
Munich,
probably where
I think it was
at
Munich, and so I just remember them.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Yeah, I think. Sorry,
we should probably cut it there because we've been going for like 2 hours now, and I got to get to my traditional Canadian pastime of watching hockey. So
I need to start editing some photos and actually get some stuff posted onto the wonderful world of photo posting places.
Alrighty, well, thanks to everybody for tuning in, and
thank you.
Thanks to you guys, of course, and
thank you guys. And look forward to seeing this stuff here more often later on down the road. We're just trying to figure out how we want to do it. So
look forward to more of Tyler and Chrono.
Cheers.
Alrighty.